Hey guys, it's M. Rob. I normally have a cute intro, but this time I'm gonna make my cute intro into a dance video and you guys can check it out separately. So I'm just gonna try to go through this. I'm gonna give you the background knowledge using pictures, and then of course we're gonna be able to do this on the calculator. So let's just do it to it. Here we go. Right here I have the asterisk. It looks like that. We use that symbol for multiplication on a computer. It's like Shift 8. Sometimes I use a dot in the center, which I can also do in the computer, but it's harder to find. Sometimes I just put parentheses next to parentheses, or parentheses next to a number, which means multiply. Rarely will you see me use an X because that's old school elementary stuff. X's in this level mean variable. So in any event, we're going to multiply fractions. Right here you have a picture of fourths. You see it's cut into fourths. I want 1/3 of those fourths. So I'm going to, there's my, I wonder if you can hear me. This thing was backwards. There we go. I'm trying to fix it. My microphone. So there's 1/4. I have different colors. Different colors would make this a lot easier. So I don't know if you'll see the difference because it's purple. There's 1/4. I'm going to cut this into thirds. So if I'm going to cut it into thirds, I'm going to make 2 cuts. I'm going to make it go the opposite direction. So instead of the vertical I had, I made it horizontal. And then I'm going to shade in 1/3. And now I can see the answer. 1/3 of 1/4 is this double shaded section here, which is 1 out of the 12 pieces I see cut there. Okie dokies? B looks different. 1/5 times 2. Well, here's 1/5. And I'm going to do it 2 times. What do I see? I see 2/5. Over here I have thirds. I'm going to take this 1/3. And remember, I'm labeling it because labeling makes everything easier to follow. And then I'm going to cut this horizontally into fourths. So I like to do 1/2 of a 1/2 to get fourths, and I need to shade 3 of them. I'd like to do them one at a time so I can see the different bars. There's one, second one, third one. Nobody else likes to draw these braces. For some reason it is like a 7th grader's Achilles heel to draw this kind of brace. And those 3 bars are 3/4. I see 1, 2, 3 of the 12 blocks I have there shaded, which by the way reduces to 1/4. If we're doing this on the calculator will automatically reduce. Okay, 1, 2, I got fifths here, 1/5, and I want 2/3 of that. In case you haven't been catching me say that, let's write it. Of means times. So I'm going to do thirds. So I cut it twice to get 3 pieces, and I need 2 of those. Shading does not have to be perfect. Matter of fact, if you do it too dark, you won't be able to see one bar from another. So there's 2/3 right there. I see 1, 2 out of these 15 blocks shaded. And that's how, if I wanted to do everything with a picture, I would do it this way. But it's better to look at the pattern and find the pattern so we can do an algorithm or a shortcut, as you would call it. So let's see. Here I see 1/12, 2/5. This 2 is over 1. 3/12, 2/15. And I got that all those times from doing, you can say it out loud, wish I could hear you, multiplying the numerators together and multiplying the denominators together. When you have letters next to each other, you don't need to put the times sign in between. It's called implied multiplication. Implied. I meant it. I didn't say it, but I meant it. That's what implied means. Okay. So over here I was reviewing mixed numbers, changing it back to improper. So you do the 5 times the 3 and then add the 2 and then copy that. So you get 17/5. I'm trying to remember, what did they say on the elementary? This is called the Mars method because it's multiply, add, rewrite, simplify. Yeah, now remember. Multiply, add, rewrite the denominator, and simplify. This is the way I'd really like to do things over here with, it's called distributive property. Distributive property is when you multiply it by a sum or a difference, and the answer is the product of both of these added. So if I wanted to do 2.5 times 3, I would break the 2.5 apart like we've done in other lessons. And then I would do 3 times the 2 and get 6. And I would do 3 times the half and get 1.5. And then I would add them together. Properties make your life easier. Okay, let's try like one problem. One problem I will show you by hand. And then you are going to practice the other two on the calculator. Okay? You're going to do these on your own and turn this in. So if I have a mixed number, I need to make it improper before I can multiply it. So that's why I went over that whole Mars method thing. 9 times 8 is 72, plus 4 is 76. Rewrite the denominator and simplify. On a lot of you, when I've seen my students in the past have to do problems like this, you just immediately start multiplying across, and that's not wrong. But simplifying first makes it simpler now instead of simpler later. Let's make it simpler now. These are both even, so I'm going to cross them off the same way. Even means 2 goes in. 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 goes into 76G. I don't even think I remember, so I'm just going to use a calculator because Mrs. Roberts is a big proponent of using the calculator. It's 38. They're still even, which means I can still reduce them. I'm going to slash them a different way because organization and being neat helps me understand things better. 2 goes into both of these. 2 goes into this once, and 2 goes into 38. 19 times. Unfortunately, it's getting a little hard to see because I should have moved my work down. It's 19. All this up here are examples. Hopefully you will read them. So now I could see what's left because it's not crossed off. I have 1 times the 19. And I have 1 times 9. I like to circle it so I can see what I'm doing. Now in middle school is mixed numbers. We got to do mixed numbers. 9 goes into 19 2 whole times. 9 times 2 is 18. That will leave me with 19 minus 18, which is 1, and we rewrite the denominator. Okie dokies? I'm going to show you how to do that again on the calculator because, again, the calculator is your friend. You're going to drive the car. This is the driving that you get to do as a 12-year-old. You can drive the calculator to the answer faster. So I press the N over D button, the numerator over denominator button, to put in my fraction. I'm in the denominator. Make sure you go to the right to get out so you can tell it what to do next. We're going to multiply, and then I need to do a mixed number. A mixed number is not one of the white buttons, it's one of the colored buttons. It's this right here. I can see it above the N over D, and it's green. So I'm going to press green to get green. So I did second N over D, so I can put in the 8 and 4/9. I'm using my arrows to move around, and I press enter. It gave me an improper fraction just like I got it myself. And then I'm going to ask the calculator to change it to a mixed number, which is also green, and right here it is second times 10 to the n. If you don't press anything, it will assume whatever was last in the calculator. There's my fraction to change with triangles to mixed. I press enter to execute the program, and I get the answer. So one more time, do not forget the second times 10 to the n to change a fraction to a mixed number. Those are the buttons that solve your problems. Okay, you're going to practice these two without me. You can pause the video, do it now, and then unpause the video. When you're done, I'm not going to go over those answers. They'll be in the answer key. And we're going to move to division. Division is separating something into groups, so the picture will not look the same. It's how many of something fits into something else. How many 1/4 fit into a half? I can fit 2 of them in there. That's why the answer is 2 groups. Okay, so let's try it out. You don't really need 2 different colors this time. So I'm going to shade the 3/12 and I'm going to shade the 1/4. How many of these do you see here? How many of these do you see here? This is, I see one. Only see one. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Tenths, 1/5. This one's more interesting. How many of these fit up there? So I'm going to circle it. There's one right there. A second one. A third one. This would be a fourth one, but it's not the whole thing. It's how much of it? It's a half. I see 3 of those and half left over there. Okay. All right. How many thirds fit in one hole? Well, I'd like to circle it so I can see 1 right here, 2, 3. 3 will fit in. How many fourths fit into a hole? I can see this 1, 2, 3, 4 times. Division has some things that I never knew when I was a child being taught this. Check this out. Look at this. What's, you can do 3 divided by 1. You would get, you don't have to write this down, 3. 12 divided by 4 would come out 3. Guess what 3 over 3 is? It's 1. I could do this. 7 divided by 1 is 7. And 10 divided by 5 is 2. Guess what that is? It's 3.5. I can divide the numerator with the numerator, denominator with denominator as my rule, but that's not the one you learned in elementary school, is it? I mean, let's look at this. Where does that 3 come from? Well, just like how subtraction and addition are opposites, right? Multiplication and division are also opposites or inverses. But you can change a subtraction problem to an adding the opposite. You can change a division problem, excuse me, you can change a division to multiplying by the opposite, which by the way is called, the multiplicative inverse is called what? We're going to change it to multiplying by the opposite. We're going to change it to multiplying by the opposite. The rule is take your first fraction, change multiplication to change division to multiplication of the opposite, which is called the reciprocal. The multiplicative inverse is called the reciprocal. And then, so again, this relates back to chapter 1, where we change subtractions to adding the opposite. It's equivalent addition expression. We're going to write division as an equivalent multiplication expression. Okay, let's try one by hand, and then you can do the rest in the calculator. I'll do D because it's harder. There are some up here. Do those with a calculator later. We're going to do D now by hand. And again, same thing. If it has a mixed number, you need to rewrite it as improper first. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4, and 3. Now I didn't change it. A lot of people like to say copy, change, change, stay, change, flip. Is there anything else you used to say? I don't know. I like to say dividing is multiplying by the opposite, or the reciprocal. This is the multiplicative opposite. Don't forget this 5 is the same as 5 divided by 1. So everything's nice and lined up so that you can see 5 times 3, and you can see 4 times 1. Doesn't hurt to circle. 4 goes into 15. How many times? 4 times 4, 16, so that's too big. 4 times 3 is 12, which will leave me with 3 left over. Now let's try that again on the calculator. I got 5, divide. I need to put in a mixed number, so that's second n over d. 1 to the right, 1 down, 3 to the right. Enter, it comes out improper, and I second times 10 to the n to make it mixed. Second times 10 to the n to make it mixed. Okay, you're going to do the rest of this, whatever you got on your paper. on your own and submit.